Hello, welcome to Respectful Dave. Today we'll be playing some rapid games. We'll be solving some puzzles. So assuming that these things are working, let me just make sure that I am not lagging. Oof. Hope everyone has been having a good day. And yeah. Wow, that was quick. Hello, Picasso. Hope you're having a good day. Why is this? There we go. Perfect time to catch. Yeah, we're gonna test this. It's been a while. I mean, I say that all the time because I am not that consistent. I'm okay. I'm okay. I Yeah. I can't complain. I'm working in chess, working in my degree. You? Are you working your chess and your degree? Um, I think it's working. I think it's stable. Okay, well, if it's stable, then let's um let's just put this mic a little bit closer, and there we go. So I've been watching some of the videos that Leon Lević Croatian super gym. Very strong. Actually that didn't affect anything. There. Yeah, I've been watching how he plays 1d6 against everything, and he plays it with white as well, so in this position um he plays d3, and very often it just transposes into King's Indian attack. And if white were to play e5 or e4, if you're playing with the black pieces, then we're just playing a Philidor. And he plays with e5 under some interesting lines here. So, yeah, I'm gonna try that out. Let's see. Let's see what happens. And actually, I guess I should have renamed this stream. So I'm just gonna do that very quickly. Solving puzzles and playing rapid. 1d6 in rapid. There we go. Philidor. Kings in defense. It's, and I mean, those two mainly. Okay, enough of talking. So what are we playing today? We're playing 1d6 against anything with black. And with white, we're just going to play the same thing up a tempo. That's the idea. I'm very tempted to get the course, the chessable course that Leon Lević, a very well-known chess grandmaster, um, together with Paligras. Where was he from? Romania. Um, yeah, I'm just tempted to try this repertoire. But okay, so let's come here and let's go rapid, not 3 plus 2, 10. Let's click on this. Yeah. Ugh. We're starting to experience some lag. I knew it was gonna come. Yeah. Okay, it's fine. I can't do anything. Yeah, we're playing with the black pieces. We're gonna get to see what. Okay, my opponent aborted. Good start. Um. Yeah. Been trying to fix stability issues with the router downstairs. Unsuccessfully. Sorry. Takes. Rook d8 and I lose. d7 wins. There we go. Another one. b5 takes, c4 takes. King here, let's say this, and we lose. Or we don't win at least. So the second idea is to come here. Takes here, king h6, b5, king g5, c4. Takes, king f4, and they're in the square. Oh, okay. b5 takes, king f6. King g8, there's king g5, and if h6, there's king f7, and then there's c4. Important to do it in this order. Because if you rush king, by the way, yeah, there we go. We're still waiting for a game. If you rush king f6, this is what I was going to say. If you rush king f6, king takes h7, b5, h6. Wait a second, this is transposing. Why is this? Because we play b5 and then takes king f6. King f6 is wrong. Oh, maybe a4. Yeah, it's a4. Well, we found the right move in the wrong way. Classic. Okay, pawn to d6. We can take and play knight e4 and target that pawn, but that's very slow. e6 is probably the best move. a4, e7, a3. We promote, takes, a2, and we lose. So e6, a4, e7, a3. I can go king c2 there. And if a2, there's king b2, and if rook a8, king a1, and I'm gonna promote whatever happens. e6, a4, e7, a3, king c2 wins. Oh, we found a game. Let's play pawn to d6. We're gonna find the answer to that later. Their opponent went d4. We're gonna play knight f6, targeting this pawn. And by the way, I said that I was going to play the Philidor, but I could also play just in a modern way with c6, b5 if white goes knight c3. But okay, let's play the Philidor. Our opponent is going to go bishop d3. Fair enough. I think here we can go e5 right away. Yeah, this is one way. I can take directly. I can play knight here. I can even play knight c6. I'm going to play knight c6. Putting pressure on d4. I'm expecting c3. Which probably d5 is an okay move. But my opponent goes d5 right away. And now I'm going to go... I could go knight e7 or knight b8. And we're actually getting a King's Indian. I'm gonna go 97 because I mean, knight b8 is also playable, of course. The plan is g6, bishop g7. Sometimes you want to go knight g6, but okay. I think g6 will suffice. So c4 makes sense. Our opponent is saying thank you for the space. And I'm hoping that I will. Normally I have these positions with white. So I'm just going to take a look at their perspective. I'm wondering if I should go bishop g4. If white goes h3, this bishop doesn't have a good square anymore. I know that knights are slightly worse than bishops, but when it's a closed position, that's not the case, first of all. And second of all, when you're running out of space, when you lack space, it's good to exchange a pair of minor pieces. So for example, bishop g4, h3 takes. Despite me giving up the bishop pair, I could go bishop g7. And protecting my knight, castle short side, and have a decent game. But to be honest, I don't think that's necessary. I'm gonna go bishop g7 if white goes h3. Yeah, I'm just going to castle short side and go knight h5, f5. Typical King's Indian type of moves. Now, I have to watch out because if you relax here too much as black, you risk getting squeezed. So I think I have to react in the middle with c6, b5 or some sort of tactic like that. Sorry. Some tactic like that. My opponent goes b4. I don't think they're ready for b4. I think I can go a5. And since they can't respond with a3, which is the ideal way of responding against a5s in general, it applies for me as well if I had. Somehow, if I was the one having space and I go b5 and my opponent goes a4, if I can't defend that pawn with a6, it's bad news. But okay, it's not the end of the world either. So b takes a5, I'm going to take with the rook. Now we have this c5 square for our knight. So I'm going to reroute this knight to c5. It wasn't doing much on f6. I could have gone knight h5 as well. Yeah, I could have gone knight h5 as well. That was decent. But I like the c5 square a little bit more. I'm assuming my opponent is going to put the bishop on b4, which is a well-known idea. So for example, bishop a3, knight c5, bishop b4. I can just drop back, rook a8. Not rook a7, because rook a7 is always getting hit by knight b5. Okay, I can also go f5, but knight g5 is worrying. All of a sudden 96, and this is slightly worrying, slightly not ideal. I'm gonna go knight c5. If bishop b4, I'm wondering if I can sacrifice the exchange. There's no need for that, but it's just, you know, I go knight f4, and I'm gonna follow it up with f5. I don't know. I'm gonna go rook a8, bishop takes e5, d takes e5 is nothing to worry about as far as I see. Knight takes e3, bishop takes. Let's take a second look at this. Bishop takes a5, I go knight f4. And yeah, I sacrificed the exchange, but I gained this. What many people think is a bad bishop, but it's actually a very important bishop because it's defending good pawns. And after I go f5, the light scores are important. So bishop takes a5, knight f4. I'm gonna follow it up with f5. It looks interesting, but I feel like I need already a h6 g5, for example, for that to work, and then a knight on g6. Then it would be clearly well compensated. But yeah, because I still have to go h6, g5, knight g6. Gonna take a while. Bishop takes e5, d takes e5 is okay. It's not the best. It's not nice for me, but it's not the worst either. I think it would have been playable. Okay, white goes a5. Should I take this bishop? Should I keep the tension? If I go h6, takes. Am I worried about that? I'm not sure. I'm gonna take this bishop first, and then I'm gonna go h6, f5, or h6, g5, knight g6. White could go c5, and actually I'm a little bit worried about that, because then there's cd, and knight b5. All of a sudden the d6 pawn becomes a little bit weak. Okay, I guess it's just going to be a race of who gets to exploit the other's weaknesses first. So now I have the d6 weakness. After knight b5, I can go rook a6, defend that. I could also think about taking on a4. Sorry, after knight b5. So if takes e4, queen takes e4, and bishop f5 followed by e4, for example. Already there, we get to see some tactics with this bishop unleashing. Okay, rook fc1 was played. I could go g5, looking for knight g6. F takes e4, knight takes e4. Bishop g4 comes to my mind as well. F takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop f5 comes to my mind. Oh yeah. Forgive me, guys. I'm trying my best to open my mouth. So I go g5 with the idea of just knight g6, knight f4. Nothing crazy. Now with this, white wants to, I mean, either knight c4 or takes and put a knight on e4, and that knight would be well supported. So yeah, I'm starting to get worried, but okay, it's fine, because knight c4 there's rook f6. And knight b5 there's rook a6. There's also knight f4, and I have my counterplay. Looks interesting. Okay, so I'm wondering which rook to move first. I think I'm gonna move the rook on a6 first, because this one is not doing anything, and I don't want to compromise this one yet. There's also e takes f4. Okay, knight b6 makes sense. Takes, knight takes e4, bishop f5 is the first thing that comes to my mind. I don't want to give up this bishop. This bishop seems important, so I'm gonna take first. Sacrificing the exchange is not enough. I don't think so. Oh, wait a second, but maybe now it is, because there's a connection against the f2 pawn. So I have to consider that in the following lines. Because maybe one of the lines that arises will allow me to show why this is a weakness. Okay, queen e3. Takes on rook f4, drops this knight, I get this bishop. Ah, but then I blunder rook c8 in the end. Okay, let's not do that. Okay, knight h4, knight f4. Bishop takes e4, queen takes e4, knight f4. Knight h4. Not looking incredible. Must say. Knight f4, knight takes d6. Yeah, that doesn't look incredible. So takes, knight f4, but I'm not threatening anything. I'm very slow. I could take and play king h7 as well. Could take on b6, but after it takes b6, I essentially have no move. At least not that I see. King h7, why was this failing? Bishop takes d6. There's bishop takes c4, bishop takes f8. Bishop takes f8, and I don't know. It is a rapid game, so we have plenty of time to invest. Okay, I think for now. I was gonna say for now, I think I could go takes and king h7, but then there's rook c8, and that's a little bit annoying. I'm in a pickle. Okay, bishop takes e4 I really don't want to play. But where is knight f4? No, where was this not working? Bishop takes d6, bishop takes e4, bishop takes f8, bishop takes g2 is complicated. But even that seems okay, so I'm just gonna take and play king h7. But king h7 is auto pinning. I don't want to pin myself. I don't want to pin myself. Where's this knight? Okay, I'm gonna go back to e7. This does two things. It keeps, because the knight on h4 is not doing anything either. So it threatens to go to better places. It prevents rook c8. And it continues to, or it allows rook f4, which is my threat. With a knight on h4, I don't know. I feel like d6 is weaker and the 8th rank is weaker. So I like my knight on e7. Put pressure on the d5 pawn as well, which is weak. Okay, that one, rook f4 is not blundering the piece because there's queen e6 check. And actually after that, there's some concern that I am dropping material. Now the question is, should I play king h8 or king h7? King h7 puts the king in an exposed diagonal, and king h8 doesn't. But king h8 is exposed in the 8th rank. I don't think the 8th rank is going to be as much of it. I'm going to play king h8. In knight d7, there's rook f4. Against queen e6, there's rook f6, if I'm not mistaken. I also have to start calculating rook takes b6 and queen takes b6. Actually, queen e6, rook f6, rook c8 doesn't... Oh, sorry, it doesn't. Of course, it doesn't work. Queen e6, rook f6, queen d7. Queen d7 directly, by the way. I think I can just take. And after takes... rook f4. And then knight takes d5. Unless bishop d2, but then bishop d2, rook d4. So queen e6, rook f6, queen d7, I have the same. Takes, takes, and rook f4. And I think that's dropping my material. So I'm taking on d5. Have I on time too? Yeah. Okay, queen e6. Let's go rook f6. This is part of the plan. Because d6 is being taken. I think queen e6 is just a mistake. Because if you have to go, yeah, back, then you just wasted. You kind of wasted a move. Okay, it takes, takes. How is this? What is happening here? I feel like I have to go e4. Or I don't have to, but I think I would benefit from going f2. Knight 65, of course, doesn't work. e4, bishop c3 is a worry. I don't wanna allow that. It seems a little bit scary. There's queen g8, putting pressure on d5. That's a cool move. But once again, I don't know. Queen d3 and... Okay, what's my next move? Rook takes b6 looks very tempting. But after takes, 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 bishop e1, which is the only way I see that protects both the bishop and this pawn on f2. I don't know, I can't take on d5 because of rook c8, and then king h7, queen d3. It doesn't finish. Actually, like takes, 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 bishop e1, queen d4. And the idea is just to take here. Maybe that's decent. Hmm. Okay, let's go queen. We can also go. Ah, no, queen f8, 97. Okay, let's go queen g8. Queen g8, queen d7, knight takes d5. There's also rook c7. Because knight takes d5 is not actually a threat. There's rook c8. Okay, let's take on b6. Oh. Immediately I realized this is dubious. There's a move I didn't even consider here. Maybe it's fine. But yeah, it's very poor. Very poor by me to blunder this. Okay. I was a little bit worried about rook. Okay, my original idea was queen d4, but to be honest, even that is a little bit doing nothing. Let's go e4. Because knight 65 doesn't work to rook c8 and queen d3, so let's go e4. Blocking the diagonal in a very tactical way. Queen d7, I think I have e3 ideas as well. So that's a plus. Hello, Viking. I'm okay. You? I'm okay. I'm low on time. That's how I am. Okay, rook a b1, queen d4, rook takes b7. I could go queen a7, but that's super passive. Okay. There's some very interesting lines here. But I think I'm just gonna centralize here. Although, yeah. Let's go. I'm definitely losing here, by the way. I have to make sure. We have to make it so it's not that easy. Let's go queen d4. It's centralizing move. If rook takes b7, knight takes d5. I have to watch out. Knight takes d5, queen d7. There's rook c8 as well, and then queen d7. And I can also... Oh, okay. Okay. There's some tricks I have, but okay. Queen d7 is probably the best. Probably gonna play rook f8. Not sure. Not sure. Yeah. Queen d7, rook f8. Queen takes d6. e3. Trying not to say absolutely everything in my mind because I have got stream sniped before. I'm glad I'm good, thanks, lol. Yeah, I see you, low on time and calculation are needed, but it's time pressure. Yeah. Not great. But not worse. Like, it's not that bad yet. Rook takes, king takes, queen d7 doesn't work. Okay, this is where I thought I had a trick. Now I realize that it doesn't work. It was rook takes f2, bishop takes, and then this, but rook takes f2, there's queen takes g7. So what a genius I am. What an absolute genius. I can go rook f4. Defend the mate in that way. Super sketchy. But it is a move. It feels very shaky. Queen a1. Ideas, essentially. g3. Rook f3. Only move. Keep the game. Keep the game going. Streaming at night now and no mornings anymore. Well, I would in the mornings, but I think the internet is less stable then. I'm also less available. But yeah, I want, like, ideally I want to stream in the mornings because that's when I can actually use my brain and not be this tired. But in the future, like in an ideal future where internet connection is not an issue, I definitely I would like definitely to. Whoa, that's blundering. Let's go e3. Queen g8, king g6, queen e8, king h7. I survive. I was also thinking about knight f6, that's why. Took me a while. There's f takes e3 as well. I know, but there's queen takes e3. That's okay. Forgot I just sacrificed in exchange for essentially nothing. Queen g8, king g6. Whoa, I didn't see that one. Rook takes g7, queen takes g7, rook g8. That's a good one. I'm gonna go king h5. I don't think so. Oh, I didn't even see that one. Good game, good game. Yeah, I was too slow, too bad, too weak, everything. Let's take a look at what could have happened. So I got a worse position. Definitely have to work on this if I want to incorporate it in my repertoire. But okay, everything so far was decent here. There are even some games in the database. You know, it's the usual +1 that the engine gives white. And then things started going wrong. We're here. I shouldn't have taken. According to this, I should have played b6. And after a takes b6, rook takes a1. Wow. Okay, sorry. What am I saying? Of course. So bishop g4, question mark. Okay, b6 is 1, but bishop g4 is now preferred. Okay, so I took on d3. Now I'm just getting destroyed. Yeah, we're just getting destroyed here. Get a positionally bad position. Sacrifice the rook, which by the way is one of the top engine moves. It goes off to show how bad this position is. Then I could have gone queen d4. I was going to go queen d4. Should have gone. But then I go e4. And then he finds rook ab1. And then everything's downhill from here. Queen d7 is a very accurate move. Rook takes f2 I thought I had, but of course I missed. Queen takes g7. So I had to go for this. I was wondering if knight f6 put any better resistance, but now I see that there's even queen h8 here. I absolutely missed queen h8. I was thinking of queen g8. And yeah, everything's losing here. Of course, better was to go into this, but okay, it's also losing. Fair enough. I need to work on those. Okay, let's try again. Okay, let's not try again then. let's at least show a little bit of level. So e4, black goes on to c5. I'm gonna play knight f3. Against knight f6, actually knight f6 is a bad example. Against knight c6, against e6, and even against d6, I would have considered to play the morra. And I've been checking some of, well, okay, it transposes into an alapin. I got someone playing knight e4 against me not long ago, a very weird move, but knight d5 is the main line. I can take on d4 directly, but I'm gonna play bishop c4 first. Yeah, black usually goes this for this, and then I go bishop b5. Am I playing this right? I'm anticipating d6 or d5. But now I'm realizing that there's a6. And something went wrong. Okay, well, we'll transpose. I'm lucky, I guess. I'm gonna take here, or should I take here? Good lord. I checked this yesterday. D takes d4, d6. Bishop c4, knight b6, bishop b5 is the line. So here, can't I just take... okay. My opponent's gonna get a better French. Takes bishop g4. I don't want that. I'm gonna take with the knight. I can also take en passant. If I take en passant, queen takes d6. I see no problems for my opponent. I'm gonna take with the knight. Gets bishop d7. Could play e6. Maybe that's interesting. What went wrong? Goodness gracious. Oh, already here. It can't go wrong here. This is unacceptable. Okay, let's say c takes d4, d6, bishop c4, knight b6, bishop b5, takes. Takes? Is it just like trading queens? Or knight takes e5? I guess knight takes e5. Questions. Okay, I can take here and go something like bishop d3. I can go e6. I'm gonna go e6. It feels okay. Go bishop d3 to keep that bishop on d7. And actually, if I would keep as many pieces as I could. Because, yeah, thanks to black's pieces being on the way, I have compensation. But if black all of a sudden exchanges 2 pairs of minor pieces, it would feel less stuck. Okay, that one I saw queen h5, knight f7, and this felt somehow wrong. Let's go queen h5, knight f7 is forced. But we succeeded. I was afraid of knight takes d4, but even that is pretty good for white, so I guess this is interesting. So black is threatening to go g6, that's the idea. I think taking here is just a suicide. I don't think that's the best way. Knight f3 anticipating e5 because of knight takes e5, g6, and bishop takes g6. I think runs into g6 directly, but it's fine because I want to go knight f3 either way. My knight is misplaced on d4. It's getting hit by e5 all the time. For example, g6, I have queen h4, bishop g7, I castle short side. It's okay. So bishop g7, castle short side. If black gets e5 in a good shape, I think they already got it in a good shape. Goodness gracious, I'm worse. I guess I'm worse. Let's go knight g5. How do we make this tricky? I'm worse already, goodness gracious. Knight g5. I'm worse out of every single opening. It's insane. It's pathetic. FM, by the way. Allegedly. e4, bishop e2. That one I'm a little bit less. Worried about. Let's go bishop c2. Here, let's go bishop e2. Not sure which one is best. I'm gonna go bishop e2. It feels a little bit more sound. Bishop c2, I don't know. Bishop b5. Okay, now knight a3 and castle's queenside. But I don't know, bishop c2. And maybe bishop c2 is better. Bishop e2 looks for f3 either way. I want to break with f3. So I can open things up quickly and hopefully checkmate my opponent. That's the idea. H6 doesn't threaten H6 G5 yet because it's pinned. But H6 followed by Bishop G7 would be. Let's say H6, I'm gonna go F3. Bishop G7. Then making a move there. Okay, let's just develop then. Seeing that this is coming whatever I play. H6, Bishop E3, let's say E5, Queen G3. Not instructive chess. Basic chess. What went wrong? It's insane. How do I mess these positions up so quickly? Knight D5. Like C takes D4. It just looks so unintuitive, this. And Bishop C4. Do I have to go Bishop B3 here then? So this is a completely different line. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where I messed up. I mean, I know that I messed up in the opening, but I've seen that position 1,000 times and I can't remember. I just can't remember. It's insane. Horrible. But okay. Let's fight back. So we're currently threatening Queen takes G6 check. So I'm expecting something like Queen F6. If it's Queen F6, I could play a variety of moves. But I think F3, I still want to open things up. Especially because if there's a Queen on F6 and I'm castling short side, for example, if I play F3, the Queen would be on the line of fire. But another move that deserves attention is castling queenside. As crazy as it may seem. Crazy as it may seem, as it seems, sorry. Now Queen F6, there's also A4. Bishop takes A4, it's losing to Bishop takes B6, A takes B6, B3. Let me just show this with arrows. A4, Bishop takes A4, takes, B3 is winning because of the pin. Against A4, I guess that black could take with the knight, though. And it's not working out. So I'm going back to making F3 or F4, or preparing it first. Or castling queenside. Black wants to castle short side, I think. Well, what should I do with that knowledge? Actually, there's an interesting move. I can play Rook D1. And whistle. I think my king on C1 is a little bit of, I don't know, it seems in danger. So with this move, I'm essentially saying I'm gonna castle short side. Aha, okay, this is what I was hoping for. So my trick was knight takes e4, d takes e4, and bishop takes b6. And after a takes b6, rook takes d7. Let's do it. This was my trick. It's a big moment in history. Big moment in chess history. So knight takes e4. Of course, if I get away with taking that pawn and only that, but threatening knight c5, I'm probably still worse, but not as bad as it used to be. Okay, so let's take on b6. I am giving up my dark square bishop, unfortunately, but it's better than whatever was going on after. Sorry, before. Queen takes b6, rook takes d7, queen takes b2. I suspect there is at least a draw with rook takes g7. King takes g7, queen takes c5. King g8, bishop c4. King h8, king h7, queen e7. King h8, queen e5. Rook f6. Oh, rook f6 is the one. Queen e7, rook f7. So I don't have a draw. But I can play bishop c4 check first, king h8. And then rook takes g7, and if king queen c1 check, I have king e2. Interesting lines. The queen takes b6, rook takes d7, queen takes b2. I can also play bishop c4, king h8, and castle short side. Could also take on g6, actually. I think that's winning for white. There's no way that's not working. Queen takes b6, rook takes d7, queen takes b2, bishop c4, king h8, queen takes g6. Maybe black is going to make a neutral move. Or a takes b6, actually, to keep the queen on f6, which guards things in the king side. So a takes b6, rook takes d7. Oh no, rook takes a2. Forgot about that pawn. Forgot about that pawn. Well, back to struggling. On the other hand, we're gaining some time on the clock. 3 minutes against 7 minutes for once. We're above. We're on top when it comes to time. Okay, by the way, I was acting with I takes b6. Of course, I takes b6, rook takes d7, rook takes a2, runs into bishop c4. A little bit cheeky, I know, but you know what? Wouldn't be the first time that type of acting works. So once again, queen takes b2, bishop. Oh, queen takes b2. Sorry, not queen b3. Queen takes b2, bishop c4. If king h7, first of all, I have at least a draw with rook takes g7 check, king takes g7, and queen takes c5. So that gives me confidence. But I dare say that actually queen takes g6 right away, isn't that winning? Queen takes c3, there's king f1, and if queen c1, there's bishop d1, and if queen c4, there's king g1, and then I lose. Do I? Rook takes f7, queen takes f7, bishop b3 at the end. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, I think I win. Let's do that again. Queen takes g6, threatening mate. There's essentially no way of stopping that mate other than giving checks. So queen c1 and queen takes c3. And queen a1 maybe, but okay, queen a1, king d2, and a little bit... Seems a little bit crazy. But okay, let's consider queen a1 as well. But there's checks, right? So queen takes c3, king f1. Once again, black needs to check. So let's say queen c1. I don't see any other checks. Bishop d1, there's queen c4, king g1. And this is where we were saying, oh, finally black can defend against the mate. Then there's rook takes f7, queen takes f7, bishop b3 winning the game. Thanks to the pin. So, queen takes g6, queen takes c3, king f1, queen c1, bishop d1 is pretty good. Queen takes g6, queen c1, on the other hand, we haven't calculated. What is going on there? Bishop d1. Queen g5 doesn't work because the rook takes g7. So that's, yeah. I'm always trying to see if black can defend. So queen takes g6, queen c1, bishop d1, queen takes c3 check, king f1. There's rook takes f2 check. By the way, that wasn't... That's also... Yeah, that's also in the air. Actually, maybe that saves the game. Queen takes g6, queen c1, bishop d1, queen takes c3, king f1, rook takes f2, king takes f2, rook f8 here. I don't know. Bishop f3. Queen takes g6, queen c1, or queen takes c3, king f1, rook takes f2, king takes f2, rook f8. Can't go king g1. And if I can't go king g1, then bishop f3 is the only other move. Wow. This is complicated. Okay, bishop c4 again. Bishop c4 again, give me a second. Thank you. Bishop c4, king h7. King h8. Tough. But my intuition tells me that rook takes f2, king is a rook f8, bishop f3. Rook takes, queen takes, king g1. I don't know, I mean, my intuition tells me that it's queen takes h1, king d2. Shouldn't work because it's a long variation. Wrong variation. I'm gonna play bishop c4. So there goes possibly like 2 minutes of our time for no incredible reason. But it was necessary to calculate that. It's good that it's a rapid game. We identified that it was a critical moment. We will see. So king h7, as I said, allows a perpetual. King takes g7, queen takes sorry. King h7, rook takes g7, king takes g7, queen takes e5, check. Rook f6, there's queen e7 winning, because everything comes with check. And if king h8, there's queen e5, king h7, queen e7, king h8, queen e5, perpetual. I was gonna say stalemate there for a second. So if my opponent wants to draw, king h7 is the way. Do I want to draw though? Excellent question. I'm not sure. King h7, I think I'm gonna castle. Yeah. I don't want the draw. After castling short side, I am threatening queen takes e5. For example, if I don't know, rook a e8. Rook a d8 maybe is a better way of doing that. But once again, I'm always spoiled for choice. King h7, castling short side, rook a d8. I also have rook takes g7, then takes, queen takes e5, king h7, queen e7, king h8. And yeah. Queen e5, queen e7, queen e5, queen e7. It's a perpetual. King h7, castling short side, rook a d8. Do I have like rook d1? Seems a little bit shaky because after takes, my back rank is weakened. It's not losing right away because I have bishop f1. It's a little bit concerning. It is a position, a middle game with opposite colored bishops, which are well known to be very dynamic. There's king h7, bishop f7, by the way. Oh no, it doesn't work. Rook takes f7. Okay, king h8 is played instead, which I think is a mistake, because now all of a sudden I have all sorts of moves around the g6 pawn. So I'm gonna castle, as I already did. I'm gonna press my opponent on the clock. Rook a d8. Takes, queen takes g6, queen takes c3, queen takes e4. Rook d4, I'm losing. So after rook a d8, I should not play exactly that line. I shouldn't play it. Okay, queen takes e5. Threatening rook takes g7. Probably black is gonna play rook a f8, but then I have queen e7. Let's go for this. Rook takes f2, of course, runs into queen takes g7. e3 runs into queen takes e3, even queen e7. Even rook takes g7. I'm gonna take on e5. It's a free pawn. There's rook f7. Which yeah, I should have seen earlier. Maybe that's my opponent's idea. Okay, if that's the case, then bishop d5 comes to my mind. Rook af8. Bishop takes c4, or rook takes b7. Okay, queen takes c5, rook f7. How bad is this? Queen d5. Takes, and it's a draw. I don't want to draw. Rook d1, rook af8. There's this intermediate move, rook 7 d2. Then I could take on e5 maybe, or maybe I could go rook d8. Very unclear. Could also just sacrifice the exchange and go queen takes e5, threatening queen e7, but I feel like takes, rook af8, queen e7, king h8. And once again, no clear way, no clear path to victory. Bishop d5 comes to my mind again. Seeing that queen takes e5 runs into rook f7, that's a very well set resource by my opponent. So congrats. That's a good resource. And there's nothing I can do to stop. I mean, I say I draw, but actually I think I'm in the slightly worse side of a draw. I can't relax. Bishop d5 again. Oh, I'm running out low on time now. Okay, we have to make a move. Actually, poof. I don't like this anymore because there's some rook takes tactics. Okay, well. Let's come here. And rook d2. Or rook here and then bishop f1. But it's very shaky. Yeah. I don't really want to undevelop. Sorry, de-develop. What am I saying? Undevelop my very important Okay, I'm gonna go h4. In the heat of the moment. I have an idea. Rook takes f2, I have rook takes g7. Let's see if our opponent sees that. Okay, we just trade, and I was just going to take here. And double. Quite frankly. And I thought I had the better chances. Because, for example, here I double first. And then with a2, I take on e2. And then I get to invade the 7th rank first. Is this working? Because rook here, I have rook takes g6 as well. Should I check first and then check double? Like twice, sorry. I think I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna come here first. Rook takes a2, I'm expecting. And now we have to relax. Let's take first. Let's check if this h5. If king h8, I suspect is the only way. And then here, need to get this rook to this file. How do I do that? Maybe you can't. Maybe I can't, like. Oof. Okay, let's make a waiting move. King h2. If this, then rook b5. Is my idea. King h3 was my idea here. And this, what was my idea? Rook c6. Now that there's no rook takes g2 check. This is mate. Okay. Rook here. Let's just start gobbling. Hmm. There we go. It was an interesting game. Thank you for the game. Fire Dance Flune. Yeah, it was an interesting game. It started very... I just want to find out, like, what was... So bishop c4 is absolutely fine, of course, knight b6. And I have to go bishop b3, like, what a... Yeah. This is just wrong. This is... But actually, this is also wrong by my opponent. For some reason, I think I confused it with this line with bishop c4, and then bishop b5, exactly. So this is what I was comparing. With the pawn on d5, these things are different. But I just couldn't work out what was going on here. It just turns out to be better for white. Bishop d7, you take, queen takes, knight c3, e6, castles, bishop e7, queen g4, castles, takes, bishop h6, bishop f6, rook fd1, okay. Well, good to know. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time I messed things up from the very beginning. So it turns out that if you want to play bishop c4, bishop b5, you have to take... But that's the line after c takes d4, d6, bishop c4, bishop b5. But if you're going to go bishop c4 right away, knight b6, you have to go bishop b3. Quite logically. So I just confused myself. And my opponent. So it worked out. Yeah, this is... I knew about this line. Bishop e6, and then I go knight a3, which is super weird. And, you know, no one plays like this. It's just very counterintuitive. And I disagree. I shouldn't... Like, no one should play in that way. I think it's... I don't know. Surprising it works. I'm surprised that people play that. But it works, it works. The Alpin works. It just looks very weird. Oh, queen h6, that's pretty deadly over here. Queen h6, there's no queen f8 because of queen takes h7. Let's go back to the puzzle we were solving before. e6. If king b3, I have e7, a4, e8, takes, a3. And I think we're losing. So e6 again, b3, king b3. Oh, okay, we found a game. We're playing with the white pieces. So should we try one d3 again? I think we're gonna try one d3 again. David, isn't this very unambitious? Actually, it's playing with the black pieces up a tempo. So it's actually very interesting. After e5, I'm gonna play knight f3. I'm expecting knight c6. Okay, well, this I really did not expect. This one I didn't expect. So I'm just gonna take this gift. That's just a pawn, I think. And despite me having gone d3, of course, now things have changed. So I'm just gonna go d4. Well, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should keep things super solid. Maybe I want to go e3, d4. Or e3, bishop e2. Let's keep things flexible. But the opening was a complete success. We played one d3, we confused our opponent, we are up a pawn. Okay, d5. Let's play e3. I am intending to play d4 eventually, I just want to have a little bit more development first. Let's go bishop e2 now, castle's short side. Maybe I should go a3, b4. Maybe I should go b3, bishop b2, knight bd2. We'll see. d4 is not something to worry about. Firstly, because I can take, and I get the bishop pair, very important. But secondly, even if I couldn't take on d4, I could go e4, and then this bishop is not doing anything anymore. It seems like a nice trade. Okay, once again, I think I could go d4, bishop d6, but then e4 is a little bit weak. Ever so slightly. Knight c3 get like kind of invites black to go d4, so I'm not gonna do that either. I think I'm gonna go b3 with the idea of bishop b2. In a very flexible Sicilian-ish style, actually. If I were to get bishop b2, knight bd2, and c4, queen c2, we would be, and maybe a3, we would be in actually a hedgehog structure of the Sicilian. Except we're up a pawn, so it's even better. Let's try to get that. Maybe d4 now, it's a better version than a couple of moves ago. Planning to go bishop b2, knight bd2, c4, a3, queen c2. That's the idea. Okay, my opponent doesn't go for d4 yet. What do we do? Okay, let's go knight bd2. d4, I'm gonna close things off with e4, I think. Yeah, I'm looking for a3 at some point. Yeah, okay. So d4 takes. Bishop takes. That doesn't look good. So I'm gonna go e4. Okay, a5 makes sense. I'm gonna go a3. Preparing to answer a4 with b4. To like a standoff. These two pawns are sort of in opposition, or in mutual zugzwang. Actually, no, not mutual zugzwang, because I could play a4. But the idea is that as soon as black plays a4, a5, a4, I play b4. But I can't play b4, of course, if black doesn't go a4. I'm just trying to provoke it. Not only that, but okay, I'm going to play some like rook h3, rook e1, sorry. And maybe follow it up with knight h2, f4 at some point. But I need to, I don't know, finish development first. I need to do something about this knight. Okay, b5 makes sense. I'm gonna start with h3 actually. Maybe I don't move this rook from f1. Maybe I go knight h2, f4 directly. If b4 I have a4, if a4 I have b4. Go bishop b2 as well. Do I want to put my bishop on b2? I did play b3, which kind of commits to that. But chess is a flexible game. So I think, as my coach used to say, you have to write your plans with pencil and execute them. Sorry, wait. Write your plans with pencil, because sometimes they change and you have to erase it. Something like that. I failed to explain that very well. I'm sorry. But you have to plan and keep in mind that you may have to change your plan, if that makes sense. With this knight h2, now I'm preparing f4. If I get f4, I get e5. If I get e5, I win material. I have to be a little bit careful about this pressure against the a3 pawn. But other than that, it seems to be fine. I don't see how black stops f4. Black could go g5, which is insane. I don't think it works. Okay, so 95. I have to be careful about tricks because for now, of course, this is not a pin, but as soon as this pawn moves forward, it would be moving forward with a check. So if I go f4, I'm just making sure there's no tactic involving the vacation of this diagonal or the emptying of that diagonal. So I don't think there is. That's why I'm going to go f4. Once again, knight g. I think I'm just winning material. Knight g6, I go f5. Knight c6, I go e5. As a matter of fact, actually, knight g6, I can go e5 as well. Thank you for the game. Well, that was pretty smooth. Pretty nice kind of a beginning to anyone who wants to try 1d3. It's actually much trickier than it looks. It looks very ridiculous and it's not a joke. It looks like you're just wasting your white pieces, which is true to some extent, but true only for very, very strong and very top level players. So super GMs. Even then, it's interesting. I've seen people play this at the very top level as well. But in this case, of course, my opponent just blundered a pawn. So let's try to get a more challenging game to see if this line holds against the very best ways of playing against it. These games are always interesting. So let's go back to the puzzle. Let's see if we can solve this. I was trying to throw king c2 first. And it turns out, or it looks like it turns out, that king c2 is probably the best, because after a4, there's e6. And this time after a3, e7, king a2, king b2. So I don't allow king b3. So yeah, that's the idea. King c2. So king c2, for example, king takes c4. King c2, king takes c4, e6, a4, e7, a3, e8, rook takes, knight takes a2, king b2, king takes d5, h6. We are promoting the h pawn, which is the reason why we're winning. But king c2, king a3 remains to be resolved. King c2, king a3, e6, rook b2, king c1, rook e2. King c1 is a mistake. I think I should go king d1. Then rook b1. Maybe that's also a mistake. King c2, king a3, e6, rook b2. Maybe I should go back. King d3. And rook b3, king d4. And then the pawn is just too slow. Or is it? Yeah, it is. It is. Okay, so let's go king c2. Oh, okay. Yes, puzzles. Sorry. I got it wrong. 47 points. Oh, yeah. Let's figure it out. Why is this wrong? e6, there's king b3. Why? Why would that be winning? e7, a4. e8 takes, a3. Wow. Not sure. e6, king b3. e7, a4. e8, rook takes e8, knight takes e8, a3. Knight takes e7, a2. There's nothing. I did consider e6, king b3, knight d7 at some point. Let's just make sure we're not. There we go. But there's just rook e8. There's nothing. e6, king b3. So king c2 doesn't work. That's insane. Yeah, that looks so wrong. E6, king b3. Wow. King b3, then there's king d2? a4, king c1, a3, king b1? a2, king a1, king a3, I'm losing. So it can't be that. There's something against king b3 that I failed to realize, but okay, we're not gonna get it, unfortunately. Well, okay, we can think about it now, which I actually recommend. So instead of turning on the engine right now, I'm gonna try a little bit harder. King b3, what is going on? This, we lose. Takes a3. Maybe 5, like we don't get there. c5 doesn't work. This is losing. King d2. If it's king d2, then this is such a tough. It's not king d2 though, because a4. King c1, a3. King b1, a2. King a1, king a3. And we lost, because there's rook b1 mate against anything. Rewind back. e6. If there's what against king b3? That's my question. Oh, ay. Wow, well, this is not easy. h6, a4, h7, a3, knight g8. And we promote. And against this, we even have queen b8. Yeah, this is not easy. King d2 after e6, do you mean after a4? For example, e6, king b3, king d2. a4, king c1, a3, king b1, a2, king a1, king a3, and this is losing. And this is too late. I think it's h6. At h6, there's also like a4, h7, and then rook h8. But then e7, this, and knight g8. Even this is like pretty complicated, because how is this winning? Takes, and then knight f6. This is not obvious, like c5, king c4, and then we win. This is a draw. Okay, so it's not a win. I meant e6, a4, king c2. Yeah, this is the answer. This is what we got. And this was never, like, we never struggled to understand that, I think. We understood, like, what we didn't know what to do against was king b3. But it turns out that it is h6. I just don't know what to do against a4, h7, and rook h8. Turns out to be e7. Oh, okay, of course, e8. What am I doing? There we go. Still looking for a game, by the way. Maybe we should play Blitz. We're gonna find more games with increment to make it a little bit less chaotic. Okay, let's play 1d6 as promised. Knight f6. Okay, here g6. We could have also gone c6 b5. Let's go c6 b5. Why not? Threatening b4, knight takes e4, so f3 makes sense. There's knight bd7 here, which I feel like is probably the move. d5, there's b4, takes, there's takes, and takes, there's bishop takes. We're sacrificing a pawn. but we get the C file open. Yeah, I think I'm happy with this. I can get bishop g7 as well. Rook c8. Also short side. Sorry. With castle, bishop h6. You have to be careful. Okay. Let's castle. Bishop h6, rook b8. Okay, c3. Let's go rook b8. Okay, wow. My opponent's just having fun. Living life. In the extreme. I'm tempted to even like just sacrifice the exchange. But I'm gonna go rook b7. I don't see any need. I think I can prove that I have compensation without sacrificing material. Okay, so queen b8, b4, a little bit unclear. Knight takes e4, f takes e4. I don't see anything else after that. Queen a5. Yeah, that's not threatening anything. But there's definitely counterplay. There must be. There must be. Bishop c6, d5. Okay, that's an idea. I still feel like it's a little bit slow. Let's go for it. Bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6. That doesn't worry me. e5, d5 comes to my mind. d5, e5. You have to be careful, so I think e5 makes sense. Bishop c5, you can take that. Just like bishop c5, you can take my exchange. I'm quite sure there's enough compensation there. Wow. Okay. I'm surprised. Yeah, my opponent just like super greedy. Fair enough. F takes e4, and now there must be a way. I mean, if this is not at least equal, chess is wrong. Knight takes e4 is an idea. Bishop h6, queen c2. Yeah, bishop h6, queen c2. I don't see anything. Bishop takes e4. I like that one because it gains a tempo. But unfortunately, I can't finish it off. Bishop h6, queen c2. Let's go back to that. There's nothing. Rook d7, knight f3, knight takes e4, and then knight c5. Okay, that makes sense. But then I'm moving my rook that is already very nicely placed on the b file. And I don't know, queen e2, for example. You know what? We already said A. We have to say B. Okay, well, let's calculate a little bit before doing that. Okay. Nah, it's a blitz game. Let's go for it. We have to say, we already said A, we have to say B. I think taking with the knight is the best. Because if taking with the bishop, queen e2, queen a8, knight f3, a little bit unclear. This, on the other hand, is looks a little bit more interesting. Go knight c5 with the idea of e4 and knight d3. I think I'm already getting that juicy compensation I was looking for for all of this time. So if I get to force my opponent to not castle, which is going to be the case after 93. And by the way, the queen sacrifice doesn't work because you have queen e8 at the end. But I was saying if I get to force my opponent to not castle, that's a big achievement. So let's go queen c8. c5. Maybe I should have gone bishop h6. Yeah, now it doesn't work. Kind of confused. If I'm completely honest, sorry. Kind of confused. I don't know where to attack. But I'm definitely attacking. I have to go bishop a6 at some point. Okay, now I take. Oh, but that's unclear. Let's go e3. This looks pretty good. Queen f4. Queen e2 maybe? Only move? No. This. Queen e4. Oh, this was misplayed by me. Should have gone queen f. Ah, it's okay. What am I threatening, by the way? h5. Oi, oi, oi. Is this the end? I think so. What an insane game. Oh. Oh. Not the end. Oh, now it is the end. What is that move? Ugh. Goodness gracious. We couldn't we couldn't put the end. Someone sent a request. Yeah, someone always sends a request. Let's try to figure out what was going on. Good game. So taking on c3, I'm quite sure this is not working. Like, it shouldn't work. Well, it works. So it is an inaccuracy for me to go knight bd7. It's an inaccuracy for me to go b4. I should have taken. Wow, I could, like, there's, yeah. I thought I should go for a6. I thought b4 might take here and, you know, pretty good, no? Like, look. The c file is open. This looks pretty scary from white's perspective, no? Bishop g7, the queen is on the way. But it's +1. But then, yeah, now I start getting some... Yeah, and this is now already slightly better for black. So maybe it's +1, but a little bit more difficult to prove in a blitz game. But I'm surprised it's +1, regardless. Yeah, this is just insane. I'm like, what? But okay, bishop takes f8 is the best. And then rook d7. Wow, this makes sense. If bishop takes e4, by the way, queen takes d2. I know, rook d7 regardless. And then taking on e4. queen h4. Yeah, of course, of course. Wow. Well, this is pretty amazing. I went for this, which is only equal, but I knew it was equal, remember? This one, yeah, this is no longer working. I got too excited here. Yeah, I wanted queen b8, but then b4. And then rook d... Oh, sorry. Rook d7 is a better version. Interesting, because bishop b5 is stronger. Okay. Well, I went for absolute madness. There was a way of white. Oh, queen c4. Wow. That's inhuman. Inhuman. Full Fisher mode. Wow, this is insane. This is winning for white, by the way. This is why I'm saying this is insane. So the only way for white to get a winning position is castling short side. This is the whole reason why this is not working. This whole knight takes rook takes d3 business is not working. But after this, now this is back to, you know, business. And then queen c5. What am I doing? I should have gone queen c5 right away. I was looking for the way to get my queen to c5. I got it in 2 moves. I forgot the queen moves diagonally. And this is just a draw. But I have to play. I'm the one that has to play accurately. Wow. After knight f4, though, white has queen c2, and that's the only way to draw. After knight e2, there's rook hg1. And that's the end. Like, that's... Okay, it's not the end. It's still extremely interesting. But that's the way to make a draw. But I failed. I played... Yeah, there was something over there, and then I just allowed all of this counterplay. For no reason. No good reason, at least. Interesting. Well, interesting game regardless. Thanks for the game. I wonder if there's a way to change the captions. Okay, we found a game actually. We're still playing 3+2. We're gonna play d6. Let's see if our opponent plays d4. Yeah, our opponent plays d4. Let's play knight f6. Knight c3. Okay. Go g6. Playing a modern defense. King's Indian defense. No longer a Philidor, by the way. Could have played a Philidor if I played knight bd7 or e5. But I decided to go g6. Let's give this another shot. Let's go knight bd7. We had exactly this position right now. If d5, we know that we take and play a6. I mean, we also know that b4 is interesting. But let's not repeat that. We know that a takes d5 is the best. And after knight takes d5, I wonder if rook b8 is better than a6. Well, I guess rook b8, bishop takes a7. Okay, so let's go b4. I feel like queen a5, c5 should be pretty good. Let's do that. King b1 I'm expecting. So c5 takes a3, rook b8. We're doing well. Yeah, so knight c1. So knight b3 is coming. Makes sense to just retreat. Let's go queen c7. It also keeps an eye on e5. And I want to go a5, a4. Okay, let's go bishop g7. If g5, not h5. Bishop h6, I can take something. But h4 is a very aggressive move. Rightfully. Of course, if my opponent knows that I'm gonna castle short side, makes sense. But I'm gonna prolong castling. My idea here was to take, but now I'm just seeing that g5 is probably winning right away. Maybe I should go rook g8. With the idea of takes. And if h6, bishop h8, of course, quite importantly. A weird move, but okay, I already kind of said no to castling short side given that my opponent's pawns are moving quickly against me. My idea is a4, a3, a4, b3, bishop a6. And that's about it. Taking on d4 sometimes. Maybe bishop b7, rook c8. To take on d4 and for white to not have queen takes d4 because of queen takes c2. The opponent is thinking, so that's a good sign. Okay. So one of my ideas was bishop a6. In this case, it would probably be answered with bishop a4, but then maybe I can castle queenside, as crazy as it seems. Let's go for it. It seems it looks good. I know that I've moved all of my pawns, but on the flip side, I am getting knight b6 and c4. And if my opponent has to give up the bishop pair in such a dynamic position, I'll be his guest. Let's stay with the knight to unleash the power of this bishop in the grand diagonal. Also to keep the momentum. So knight b6 is an idea, c4 is an idea, but I'm just going to play king b8. Put my king in safety first, and then see what's going on. Okay. For a moment, I just thought I could take this knight, but of course it's protected, so never mind. I don't want to go f6, that would be a very sad move. But on the other hand, I am threatening to go g5. Can I go g5 right away, by the way? g5, queen takes f7. Not sure. Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna go rook c8. Queen takes f7. I'm defending this indirectly with c takes d4. Attacking c2. And if knight takes d4, there's takes, and mate. Oh, there isn't mate because the bishop is on h6. Wow, okay, well. Oy, oy, oy. Still, this looks pretty good. But it definitely not what I intended. Okay, I can go here, I can go knight c4. Knight c4 looks pretty strong. Taking b2. Queen f6. There's knight d2, but I'm gonna play king a8 first. Protecting things. I have to keep the pressure. Okay. a4. Wow, okay, that seems super wrong. There's no way this works. Rook takes g7, queen takes g7, a3. There's no way this works. Let's calm down for a second. a3. Threatening this. Knight d2 here. Threatening this. Yeah. Okay, so queen takes d3 or bishop takes d3 or rook c3. Rook c3 allows some checks. Actually, I don't think I'm worried about any of the checks, but I'm not threatening anything with rook c3 actually. Oh wow. Let's stick with the bishop, and I have a very good reason. Hopefully you get to see it. Takes, rook c2, king a1, takes. Wow, is that working? I think it is. That's an amazing... That's an amazing mate. Should we just stop things here? Like, should we retire from chess now? Let's just analyze that game very quickly. Thank you for the game. Heals off Bills. So we'll learn from our mistakes from the last game. Everything's theory, as we can see. Everything's the main line. Except castle and queen side. Very logical, but not the main line. I played b4. And here, queen a5, everything's perfect. We're playing like Mehmet Yarov in 2017. And here I play c5, which is just like... not the best. I should have played bishop a6. I knew this, I remember. I had a game against Eric Rosen in Title Tuesday, I think. Or in an arena. And I remember bishop a6 being... or having to be played. And after knight c1, the important thing to remember is that c4 becomes easy to carry, to execute. So whenever the knight lands on b3, c4 is always going to be bothering white. But yeah, I went c5 right away. Not incredible. Not my brightest moment, proudest moment. h5, we went... oh yeah, so we should have played h5, and I considered this, but after g5, yeah, I didn't like this. I thought this was already kind of a catastrophe. But I went a5, h5, and then rook g8, which is +1, so white does have an advantage. But most of that advantage diluted to nothing after I went bishop a6, and white failed to find bishop takes a6, rook takes a6, and h6 here, bishop h8, and play with space advantage. Wait, I think I'm... oh yeah, knight h5. I was gonna say, I think I'm dropping a piece here, but I have knight h5. Still, this looks pretty bad. D takes e5, knight takes e5, knight d3, and all my pieces are a little bit uncoordinated. Mainly the knight on h5 and the rook on a6. And of course my king and my rook. Well, yeah, most of my pieces. But after this, I castle queenside. I'm very happy, and yeah, this is equal. I equalized. Here I should have taken on d4 according to the engine quite amazingly. Because after takes, there's g5. Yeah, this is the type of thing I was looking for. And f4 doesn't work because of g takes f4 and rook takes g4. And of course, this is always running into that. Actually, never mind. There's queen takes d6, but okay, rook takes g4, I'm assuming, yeah. But this is still equal, and then queen f4 is once again a mistake, and then c takes d4 is good. Here I should have gone g5 right away if I had realized that there was no mate. But I just went for this like a primitive human being. And then we're back to winning somehow. g5, knight b3 is the only way to defend this successfully, but rook d1 was played. This gives me the plus again. I failed to find... I know I did find the best move according to this, but the engine's depth is so low that it calculates it horribly. But this is all winning. Oh. It's easier to come over here. And yeah, bishop g7. Well, once again, queen d5 would have fought. And then queen d4. And after a3, there's takes. And after takes, there's queen takes b4, which is, yeah, working out somehow. But finding out that in time travel is pretty tough. So after this, and wait a second, this is not winning. This is winning with the idea of a3. But a3 right away doesn't work because of b takes a3. Wow. Okay. So this is equal. Not losing, it's just equal. But after this is now winning. I should have got 95 though, because queen b2, but okay, this is more beautiful. We took with the bishop, of course. And this is just a beautiful checkmate. Wow. Okay. What time is it? Let's do a couple more. And call it a day. Let's see if actually we can maybe join. Maybe join the arena. So let's see. Daily Rapid Arena. Let's join this. Let's try to get to the top. Okay, we're playing with the black pieces. We're going to continue with our strategy of playing 1d6. This time, though, I think against knight c3, I'm going to go for the Philidor. e5. And we're going to go for the endgame. The endgame is well known to be very drawish, obviously. But black doesn't have any trouble. Black doesn't have anything to worry about. You'll have to be careful here. What's the best way? Okay, let's go knight bd7 and c6. King e8. King e8, knight b5. Maybe not king b8, but maybe bishop b4. And bishop 6 f7, king e7. Okay, I'm in trouble already. Insane. Pretty insane. Nah, I'm not in trouble. I can go king e8 if knight b5, bishop b4, and bishop a5. But I thought so for a second. Now I'm threatening b5, b4 sometimes, taking on e4, but okay. Given that I'm extremely underdeveloped, I'm not acting like that's gonna be what I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play bishop e7 because after bishop takes f6, I couldn't take with the knight, given that knight takes e5 is winning a pawn, and I didn't want to take with my pawn to damage my pawn structure, so I'm gonna play bishop e7 to retake with that bishop. I'm gonna chase this bishop away finally. If bishop h4, I would consider g5. But b5 is also a serious candidate move. Okay, bishop e3. I think b5 makes sense. It also kind of forces bishop d3 now that I have a little bit more development. For example, bishop b3 instead of bishop d3, which would protect the pawn. Bishop b3 doesn't, and probably allows b4. But actually, I think I have a better way of getting that, because b4 knight a4 is a little bit, I don't know, a little bit annoying, but I think I can go a5 actually. Threatening a4. Now white kind of has to go a4, and then I get a b4 in a better version, now that the knight has to jump on the way of a potential rook e1 move. And there's one more piece on the e file. By the way, sorry if my accent changes. I'm trying to play, like, explain as clearly as possible, but that comes with its disadvantages. Okay, now I kind of misplay this because I blundered e5. But I do have the bishop pair, so it's okay. This is off script. I didn't want this. C takes b3, bishop e6, knight takes e6, bishop f6. Makes sense. h5, knight takes e6, h4 for the sake of getting bishop f5 check also makes sense. Should I protect the pawn on c6? That's an excellent question. I'm not sure. I feel like I shouldn't. So I'm just gonna go bishop e6, knight takes e6, rook c8. Actually, I could give up the bishop pair. And I should still be okay. Actually, I'm not sure anymore. Yeah, I played this horribly. Horribly. Let's go bishop h4. Bishop f6 runs into knight e4. That's why bishop h4, not because I'm threatening bishop takes g3. Although I can find myself in some scenarios where if I castle short side, for example, rook e1, castle short side, rook e4, I take and play bishop f5, but that's just kind of hope chess. Oh, something actually very similar happens with rook d3. But, wait a second, I already moved my king. What am I saying? I can't castle short side. Oh, this happens to me way too often. I thought it would stop happening once I become an FM, but I guess it didn't. Didn't stop. Okay. Now I have to do weird things. Okay, let's go. I want to go f6. But at the same time, it's kind of like not working out. So I'm gonna sacrifice this pawn. Knight takes a5, king e7, and get some of my rooks out. Rook e1 makes sense, threatening knight f5, so I'm probably gonna have to respond that with king f6 or takes. Both of them being quite annoying to play. Talking about annoying, can't go here because after takes, there's knight c6, and I don't want to take with the king. But actually, I don't have to do either of them. I can go rook c2 and rook a8. So that's good news. Knight c4 now. If I get rook a8, knight c4 takes. I'm taking that with check, and I'm also taking an f2. Probably that's my main. Threat. I take an f2, and then in general I'm invading. But I played this horribly. I'm also low on time because I berserked, claiming that I was superior. I don't look very superior. Oh, okay. Now I look a little bit more superior. Yeah, this is a little bit of luck here. Although some people say that there's no such thing as luck. But okay, enough of these philosophical phrases. How do we get mate here, actually? I don't see any mate. Actually, if anything, I'm not threatening anything. Bishop e1, king a1, bishop c2, king a2. And there's no threat. So, it's not easy. Check. Let's just move this forward. Rook e3, king d6. Rook h3. Once again, I'm relaxing way too soon. Where's the mate? Okay, let's go check. Let's take here. And let's come here. Let's promote this f pawn. Okay. Now it's kind of a race. Shouldn't have got this far. But it did. Which one should we? Okay, let's come here. I have to play bishop there. It will happen eventually. Insane that I played this so bad. Insane. f3. My idea is rook e2 and f2. Rook e6. a7 I have check. Rook a4 I take, and f2 and I win because this bishop controls the promoting square. But on the flip side, on the other side, I'm just threatening to take this pawn. That's my threat. Probably b4 is the best chance. And then I just play rook f6. Takes and rook f6. So takes, king d3, f2 is not in time. unfortunately for my opponent. Rook e4, king f7, and I'm gonna get f7 next move. So after a little bit of effort, we managed. And this one just allows me to get the queen. Let's check. Let's check. Let's get some balestra mate, I think it's called, queen d4. Where the queen and the bishop are two squares apart. Check. And mate. Thank you for the game. I think once we kind of solidified here, things started working out for us. But I think bishop d3 was needed if we analyze this. Wow, knight takes b5 was the best. Paul Morphy style. What if castle short side? Oh, I can't castle short side, of course. I keep forgetting. What if king d8? Knight takes e5. Wow, okay. So this worked out. This is equal, around equal. Their bishop e3, a5. Yeah, this is just a pawn, I think. Well, that worked out. Actually, let me pause for a second. I'm gonna go to the toilet. Let's see if this works. I haven't done this in a while. Actually, I'll be back soon. I'm not going yet. Thanks for waiting. My battery should be actually finishing soon. Let me change it real quick. There we go. So let's join again. Let's berserk again and let's play 1d3. Oh, there we go. There we go. So 1d3. Our opponent goes knight f6. Let's just play knight f3, continue with this strategy. Playing essentially with the black pieces. Seems like our opponent plays the modern as well. So I guess we're gonna occupy the center now. Okay, d6. Let's play bishop. Could play g3 and bishop g2 actually. Our opponent is playing the mirrored variation, so essentially we're playing the same moves. It's exactly the same position, but I'm up one tempo because I'm playing with the white pieces. The black goes h6. Interesting. I would like to play f4. So as a result, I want to play king h1 followed by knight g1. I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna go a4, just occupy space in the queen side. Not sure. Okay, bishop e6. I'm gonna go king h1. Could also go knight c4, but that drops the pawn after bishop takes e4, d takes e4, knight takes e4, so I'm not sure about that anymore. Let me go a5. Kind of teasing. Because if knight c6, knight bd7, I have a6. My opponent doesn't care. I'm gonna go a6. Kind of as they say, if you are not going to... You're not gonna... You threaten something and you're not gonna do it after that, then it wasn't a threat. It was never a threat, but it was in this case. Now, pawn to d4. e takes d4, knight takes d4, that's okay. I feel like rook e1 is a useful move. Anticipating pawn to d5. Because after pawn to d5, I take, and then e5 is falling. It was already falling after d5, but it also helps me to go knight f1, knight e3, or knight f1, c3. Or knight c4, without this pawn on e4 falling after bishop takes e4. Okay, let's go knight c4. Not worried about bishop takes c4. I think this bishop is pretty good. I don't mind it. No, I'm threatening c3. My opponent kind of anticipates it. I'm gonna go c3 either way. d5 is impossible, takes, or it is possible, but it falls. Fails to takes and takes on e5. And my idea is knight e3. Maybe even c4, knight d5, just to really cement that knight on d5. But also bishop d2 and bishop and queen c1, sorry. Bishop h3. How do I feel about that? Not sure. I'm gonna go bishop d2. You can take my bishop, I can take. I will take back, I should say. My idea is very simple. Queen c1. Kind of tickle there. King h7. Yeah, fair enough. It's not doing much. Okay, let me play queen e4 then. I'm gonna start playing the queen side. So watch out for d5. But in this case, I think it doesn't work. Because I can take a knight e3. Not sure about that. It's prevented for sure now with knight e3. One of my ideas is h4, h5 at some point. But as long as there's an knight on f6, I don't think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna play h4 for now though, because sometimes I go knight d5, takes knight e7, and then h5 comes in very handy. Something else I just noticed is without this knight on f6, in a good day, maybe I can go d4, but that seems like a long shot. I'm gonna go for the other pawn break, which is b4. After takes, I get to use the c file. And if knight d4, let's attack this knight because takes. I'm taking an a7 at the end. Yeah, after knight d4, what was I going to play? I think takes and knight c4. But then there's d5, but there's knight d6, so let's go for this. Knight takes c4, d takes c4, queen takes c4. It's just scary. I just go king g1 and there's no real follow-up. I could have kept the tension, by the way. I could have just taken on a7. Ah, but there's knight b3. So it's a little bit unclear. But then there's rook c7. Yeah, that was probably the best. Because taking an f3, of course, is not winning or anything. I think this is just blundered by my opponent. Knight d6. Simply winning material. And as long as this diagonal doesn't open up, I think I'm gonna be fine. After queen e8, quite importantly, I can take, and if takes, I can take with check. And I think it's game over. So my opponent goes for queen e7. I'm gonna take on e8. As I said, knight takes f6 is always going to be check in all of these variations. And I actually have a... Ooh, okay. They go for it. I'm gonna check. There we go. We win the game. Thank you very much. Let's keep going. Hope you guys are not experiencing lag. Oh, there we have some Spanish speakers in this. Claro, en este sentido está mejor. Así, jaja. Okay, we get a game. It's Berserk again. We're still not at the very top, so let's just try to speed up the process. Let's actually get e4. We're gonna pause all of this action. We get a Caro-Kann. We're gonna play this in this very positional way against the Caro-Kann. Wow, black goes a6. Seems like a very very passive way of playing. But okay, of course it's not the end of the world. I'm gonna cost one. I'm gonna play c3 because very often the lower rated opponents don't know exactly how to punish you not playing c3, and I think part of the truth in that is to go knight b4 in some moment. But now that I get rook e1, maybe I can make a point for that not being, or this not being good anymore for black. But maybe it is fine. Okay, 95, knight takes d4, bishop takes g6, h takes g6, queen takes d4. It seems like I'm just putting tactics at the service of strategy. Sorry, strategy at the service of tactics. And that's the wrong way. You should usually use tactics to get what you want strategically, not the other way around. I'm just claiming that, okay, what I didn't realize I was doing, but what I did with 95, knight takes d4, bishop takes g6, and I'm exchanging a pawn that is doing nothing in the side of black for one of my central pawns. So I'm not going to do that. I will end up playing c3, which is quite funny given that I was bragging about how I was tricking my opponent into this inferior version of the Caro-Kann. And after bishop d7, I do have to say something, and that e6 is a mistake. Bishop f5, getting the bishop outside the pawn chain was needed, but now this bishop is pretty bad. That's pretty good for me. I'm gonna go 95, and I have a slight plus out of the opening, which is pretty nice. And more importantly, I played a sound opening as opposed to most of the games I had played in this evening. Bishop g5 comes to my mind to provoke h6. After h6, I could go bishop h4, and I could go bishop f4 back. But going back to f4 seems a little bit... I don't know, it seems very difficult to believe this is the best way to play. So I'm going to go just keep the tension along the diagonal bishop h4. Of course, black can't take because I can take and take. And against this, I was intending to just support my knight. Could also play knight g4. Could also play f4. I think I'm going to go f4. Now black could take a knight h5, but that seems very, very sad. Can go queen g4. Go queen f3. Loads of options. I'm gonna go queen f3. Okay, my opponent breaks the tension. I think now I'm threatening g4. g5 runs into queen 6 h5, of course. I don't know, this seems very dangerous. Bishop e7, bishop d6. Okay, this is just winning material. Or maybe not, queen 6 b2. Do we allow that? Let's just play rook a b1. I mean, we shouldn't be lazy. g4, queen 6 b2. Let's say knight b3, and I think we're just winning the piece. But there is g5 in the air, and it's a little bit Okay, let's go for g4. It shouldn't work for black. And I can also go... Okay, I will go knight b3. Because it keeps things, important squares protected. I know that I want my pieces more in the king side. It does make sense to do that. But at the same time, tactically it seems like d4 it's important to keep under control. If c3 is going to fall, and in fact all of my pawn chain is going to fall, then yeah. Okay, so let's just take the material. Now we're up a piece. g5 I'm expecting. Okay, never mind. If this rook wasn't here and was on d8, there would be bishop h7 and I would win the queen. But now okay, of course it's not. That's just a tactic. Even without that tactic, I can go bishop f6 and rook g1, and black should be, unfortunately, I'm afraid to say, hopeless. Because the g-file is open. That's why I was expecting g5 to kind of prolong the game a little bit more. Queen b2 played. With the idea of... I have no idea, actually. I'm just gonna go rook g1 and bishop f6. King h8. I go bishop f6, and if rook g8, rook takes g7, I think. Oh, rook c3, that was the idea. Makes sense. Makes total sense. But now I can sacrifice the rook. And play queen f6. And that's mate. Thank you for the game. We're approaching the top. Let's see. Interesting username, this one. Yeah, I have to somehow change the font of all of that. I have to put my hand here so you can read. No, but seriously, I think it's insane that I mean, it's unbelievable that there's no way to change the font. But okay, that's just another thing. Okay, we're still not at the very top, so we're gonna berserk one more time. We're gonna play pawn to d6. We get c4, and very importantly, I think this is inferior to e4. The endgame after e5, d takes e5, queen takes d8 is worse for white. When white goes c4. So already here, I think we're pretty happy. White prevents or avoids the queen trade, which is quite interesting. I think this is a very important tempo that black is gaining here. Very importantly, I can hit the queen with knight b4 and knight d4, so it's very risky by... This is very risky by white. So I'm gonna go knight d4 right away. Probably queen d1 or queen d3. Actually, queen d3 not, because of maybe bishop f5. Knight takes d4, knight e4, I'm expecting. I can go bishop b4 after that. Okay, never mind, this is just good for me. I can go bishop b4. It takes on d5. And this was just a pawn. And Castling queenside is hanging the a2 pawn, so that's not good either. For example, after e3. Actually, e3 probably the best. I'm gonna reply c5, holding on to the material. That's a good pawn grabber. Takes. I think this bishop can't develop that easily. It's amazing that every time I stream, the username Cheetah65 always sends me a challenge. I'm beginning to think that this is a bot. But okay, that's off topic. Let's go back to the game. So b3 has the idea of bishop c4, but I don't think bishop c4 is working given that queen takes g2 is falling. So, sorry, the pawn on g2 is falling, but after queen takes castling, it's a little bit... it's actually quite interesting. Okay, let's go for this. I want to see. Bishop c4, I take on g2, castles queenside. I can go bishop f5 with the idea of queen e4. Okay, rook g1 played. Let's go queen e5. Threatening d takes e3, queen takes a1. For example, bishop c4 just blunders. Queen e2, d3 as well. Watch out. This f4, queen takes... And there's queen takes h2 as well. Maybe queen e5 is just... Unfortunately, game over. Queen takes a1. Queen c1 I'm expecting, but then takes. Yeah. Thank you for the game. We're 26th. We're approaching. We have an hour left, so still time. Wow, 1700 is on streak. Pretty clever. Art Vega, the other title player here, is also on a streak. Okay. Still not at the very top, so we're gonna berserk. We're gonna play e4. Against the Caracan, we're gonna play that positional line. Against the French, we're gonna play 1f4. Against the Scandinavian, we're gonna win. Against e5, we're gonna play the 4 knights with a4, which is a very interesting line. It's essentially saying, oh my goodness. The knight c6 was kind of forced. Bishop c5 is just blundering the pawn, right? Well, okay, we get a very interesting position now. Bishop c5, we're just gonna take this. Threatening d4. Bishop d4, which is the only kind of explanation I can find. Probably is not that good because of knight f3 takes. I mean, I guess black gets back their pawn. But it's the only way to keep things interesting. Or that's what I thought. Maybe it's not. I'm gonna go knight f3. I don't want to take because d takes c6. Black gets a little bit of counterplay, and on the other hand, if I go knight f3, I am threatening d4, which I will go for now. And here, once again, I have a couple of options. d5 is one of them. Kind of forcing knight e7. Black could go knight b4 though. I'm gonna go d5. The problem is that I don't think I can sustain this center. If I go something like h3 and castle short side, and I don't know, bishop c4, I will always run into some trouble like rook e8 or knight takes e4. So I have to break the tension. I can't sustain, I can't maintain that nice central pawns. So that's why I play this move d5. It does open up the bishop and it does create some holes in the position, but it gains the tempo. And yeah. More importantly, if my opponent doesn't see that this knight is hanging, I win a knight. I'm joking, of course. Knight e5 I wasn't worried about because I take. And I get to trade pieces with bishop b5. And if you're up material, as the principle goes, you should exchange pieces. Actually, bishop d7, I have this interesting move d6 as well. But then c6, and it's unclear. So never mind. I think I'm simply going to castle. Although bishop takes b5, I have to take with the pawn, given that taking with the knight loses e4. And I can't play rook e1 because of bishop takes f2. But there is queen g4 actually. So maybe let's make that a little trap here. Bishop takes b5, knight takes b5, knight takes c4, queen g4. Queen takes d5 is impossible because of knight takes c7 check. And knight f6, queen takes c7, rook g8 would have been very interesting. Okay, we're not going to get any of that. Now we're going to pin bishop g5. This is a very annoying pin. Usually when you've castled already, you can't go h6, g5 anymore. At least not that easily. Because it's weakening the king. So you have to constantly calculate what's going on. And especially after h6, concretely I have bishop takes f6, to which black can't reply queen takes f6 because of bishop takes d7. Meaning that they have to take with the pawn. That would damage the pawn structure. And I would win the game immediately. I'm joking, not immediately, but you know, you get the point. This unfortunately doesn't change much. Here I'm gonna go queen h5, followed by rook a3. Bishop takes e5, that would make my life easier. Because I would take with the knight, I would gain a tempo, given that I'm threatening knight takes c7. And after some like, well, okay, rook c8 just blunders the bishop. So queen d7, rook a3, rook g3, or rook h3 is winning. Another idea to lift the rook is rook d1, rook d3, rook g3. Okay. Enough of all of those. Enough of all of those words. Let's play knight e2. Against bishop takes b2, I have rook b1, followed by rook b3, and as soon as I get my rook into the kingside attack, so g3 or h3, it's gonna be game over. And the only move I see for black to kind of keep the game going is bishop c5. But c6 isn't it. But actually it's a very interesting move. I'm gonna take on d4. Actually, this is a very interesting move. I misplayed this. No, this was a good find by my opponent. Because now after rook a3, they can simply take, and rook g3, king h8. Of course, rook h3 is no longer possible because bishop takes h3. And this was pinned before. That's why the c6 is a good move. Rook a3 takes, rook g3, king h... Ah, but I have queen h6 that is winning. Okay, never mind. But then there's still queen e5 though, so yeah. It was careless by me. That's the conclusion. It was careless. If queen e5, I can play rook g3, king h8, queen h6, rook g8, f4. Queen e7 only move. I know there's... Yeah, queen e7 only move because queen d6 runs into e5. And then after he takes f takes e5, queen takes d6. So queen e5, rook g3, king h8, queen h6, rook g8, f4, queen e7. Oh, I have d6 maybe. If queen e6, I have bishop c4. Queen takes g3, f takes g3. Of course, that's not gonna happen. Queen h6, rook g8, f4. Let's see if we can get this line. Of course, as soon as black stops attacking f6, I take f6, and it's gonna be checkmate. Because queen takes f6, queen takes g7. So queen e7 has to be played. Queen d6, as I said, e5. And I get that with a tempo. So we have to provoke the queen after queen e7 to go to d6. That's why we play d6. Ah, but then there's queen d8. So it's not winning. But it's very close. Because at d6, there's a trap. Queen takes d6, there's e5. And after queen e7, we take... Queen f8, of course, doesn't work. Queen e6 runs into bishop c4. So queen takes d6 is kind of straightforward. But after e5, of course, black can kind of mix all of those lines together. But it's quite funny how eventually black will have to protect the pawn from e7 in the event of taking on d6. Queen takes d6, e5, queen e7 is the only way to protect this pawn on f6. And it happens to run into e takes f6. As I said, of course, queen e6 is also possible, and we will get that. We did get that in the game. But bishop c4 is just game over. Because then queen takes d6 is kind of forced, and then we get the line we already calculated. So black sacrifices the bishop, the queen, sorry. But unfortunately, this is not gonna work because I think I can counter sacrifice. I can also just move the queen. But I think counter-sacrificing is more exciting. Queen takes g6. H takes g6. Bishop takes d7. Rook d8. And yeah. Good. Good stuff. So I'm going to play bishop h3. And then e5. And breakthrough. Okay, let's take. Let's go f5. Threatening to take an f7. King h7 I'm expecting. What should we play here? Okay, let's play g4 with the idea of bishop g2. I'm expecting c4. Bishop g2. Yeah, this is getting slightly tricky. But it's fine. d3 I can take. And take. And bishop e4 check. And every time black goes d2, I play bishop c2. Bishop e4 check. If king goes forward, which is probably the best move, I go king g2. Ooh, there's some beautiful lines. King g2, d2, king g3, d1, h4, king h6, g5, king h5, bishop f3. But that's so unnecessary. Or rook takes d1. That's so unnecessary. But it looks beautiful. Let's try to get that. d2, king g3. Completely unnecessary, I would say. Rook takes f6, runs into h4. Oh no. Yeah, this is... unnecessary. h4, so d1, h4, king h6, g5, king h5. There's no mate, unfortunately, but okay. We just take, and bishop f3, king g6, we take. And we're converting this. So now we're gonna go h4. This is essentially the same thing, just kind of... In chess, normally you get variations, and forcing variations, because they're forcing, they are interchangeable very often. So instead of going d1, h4, and then king h6, black goes king h6, h4, and then d1. It's essentially the same thing. It's transposing. So I'm gonna go g5. Of course, this is all covered. Would not done that. All covered. So the only move is that. And it's a shame that there's no mate here. But we can take here. Followed by rook takes d1, bishop f3, king g6. And we win the game. Thank you very much. So we're in 17th place. Let's see if we can reach the first page. We're in the second page. We're a couple of wins away. So we're 21 points. The first place has 36. So we need 15 points. Ouch. Okay. We still don't get super strong players. We of course have reasonable players here. We're gonna berserk one more time. We're gonna play e4. I think this is our third white in a row. We're gonna get a Sicilian. Nice. We're gonna play knight f3. Let's see if our opponent plays e6 or knight c6. No, our opponent plays d6. Now I can't play the Morra because after d4, c6, d4, c3, there's knight f6. But luckily for me, I can play closed Sicilians. Okay, let's try to play the Morra because it's very interesting. C takes d4, I'm going to play c3. If knight f6, there is a way you can play this with queen takes d4 technically. But okay, black prevents this whole business as a whole, and it's not amazing. It's okay for black. It's an easy way of playing. put lightly. I'm gonna go for the Maroxy bind with c4. Now these 2 pawns are preventing black from playing d5. I'm gonna play my knight to c3. One of the points behind playing c3 to c4 is emptying, vacating the c3 square for my knight. Now I'm gonna play h3, preventing bishop g4, very often in these positions because white is up in space, which is some sort of advantage strategically. I want to prevent the exchange of pairs of minor pieces. Also, h3 is a useful move that prevents knight g4, so it means that I can play bishop e3 without worrying, and worrying to lose the bishop pair. So I'm going to play bishop e3. Last time I had this position was either yesterday or the day before yesterday, and my opponent played knight d7 with the idea of going knight e5, exchanging a little bit of pieces. Some pieces, I should say. But now we get a6, and there's something wrong about that move. What is wrong about this? I'm going to play queen d2. I'm going to flirt with the idea of bishop h6. I'm going to try to bring my pieces into the game, and knight d5 is going to be continue being in the air. Sorry about that. Bishop e6 is a natural move. Knight d7 is a natural move. Rook e8 may be a natural move. Queen a5. Probably my opponent's thinking about all of those. Okay, knight b4. We didn't predict this one. We could go knight d5, but I don't want to lose this bishop. This bishop is very often needed. I'm gonna play bishop e2. I was gonna play bishop e1 originally, but then I realized that bishop e6 would start attacking my pawn, so I'm gonna continue defending my pawn. That's why it's important to consider your opponent's moves, your opponent's resources. I'm playing chess. Now we're gonna kick this knight out. I'm tempted to continue with b4, but I think I'm just gonna play bishop d3 back. Or could put my queen on c2. Let's put a rook on d1. Neither one nor the other. It's just that I think potentially c5 at some point would have been a problem if the queen had kept being on d8 and my rook on d1. But black kind of plays against that in a very suboptimal way, which is putting the queen on c8, which feels wrong. Feels wrong. But this last move is very good. Because knight b3 is a threat, of course. Maybe I have knight d5, knight takes d5, c takes d5, knight b3, rook takes c8. That wins material. That wins material. So let's go knight d5. We're attacking this, we're attacking this. And b3 we take on e7, check, king h8, knight takes c8, knight takes d2, we take on d6, takes on f3 check, bishop takes f3, and we're winning 2 pawns in the aftermath. Of course, knight takes c4 is no longer possible because we have 2 pieces defending this pawn on c4, and after this we had c takes d5, pretty well timed actually. Attacking the queen, and we're attacking the knight as well. Queen d8 is a forced move, but then queen b4, and we're threatening bishop b6. What I failed to realize, though, is that after queen b4, there's b5, which prevents bishop b6. So that's not good news. But it's not terrible news either. Let's play queen b4. b5 is forced. Okay, technically bishop b5 is also possible, but yeah, b5 is a much better way of stopping bishop b6. And after that, we get to this position, we can start evaluating it, because essentially we went for a tactical sequence, and once there's no more forcing moves to calculate, or left to calculate, we should evaluate. And evaluating is all about considering long-term factors. In this case, king safety, I think, is not such a big factor. Piece activity, I think, is a big factor. I think this knight on a5 is gonna have to find a hard time reincorporating itself into the game. And what else? Pawn structure is very important to consider when evaluating. What should we do now? Knight d4, knight c6, b3 preventing knight c4. I think I'm gonna go knight d4. I'm not worried about knight c4 because I take, and win a pawn. Sure, I did lose the bishop pair, but I don't think black has enough compensation. This I was intending to take, of course, queen takes c8. Loses the knight. So black can't do that. And now just I could play rook c1, occupying the c file again. Bishop b7 or bishop d7 again. I play knight c6. Sorry. Bishop takes d4. I have to be careful with not taking with the queen because knight b3 is winning. Bishop takes d4. Bishop takes d4. Then I'm pretty happy because this was the very important darks for the bishop. But sometimes black can give away this bishop and play f6 very quickly, or not, maybe not very quickly, but play f6 after that, and it's it's not the end of the world. Yeah, let's go knight c6. This was part of the plan. Knight takes c6, d takes c6. Sure, we did exchange the isolated knight, if you can call that knight like that. It is out of play for our seemingly active knight, but on the other hand, we're gaining a tempo on the bishop, and we're creating ourselves a passed pawn that wow, that was and that is gonna create trouble. Specifically because I go a4, and after b takes a4, queen takes a4, I'm already creating bishop takes a6. The bishop takes a6 threat. This is unfortunately still defended. Probably my opponent was calculating b takes a4, queen takes a4, and then bishop takes b2. But mixed the lines up. Now I'm simply up a whole piece and should be able to win the game. Bishop h6 wins material even more now because I'm threatening both queen g7 and bishop takes f8. And now I'm simply going to take here. I couldn't have taken before because queen b7 was creating some counterplay, but now queen b7 I can simply sacrifice this queen and get a new one. And yeah, life is good. Life is good when you win in chess. When you lose in chess, life is not good. Remember that. Very important lesson of life. And I still get challenged. Cheetah65, if you're listening to this, I don't mind playing against you, but it's just interesting to see that you do that every single time. Whoa, I'm running out of time. But I really don't mind playing against you. It's just you've been very consistent. Let's go queen e3. I'm relaxing here a little bit. Shouldn't. Never relax. Never relax until it's over. Rook c7. Queen a1, king h2, queen e5, f4. Wins the e7 pawn. We're probably gonna get that. Queen b2 back, or queen h5. Rook takes e7. Probably queen h5. Could go queen g4 actually. Queen h4, rook takes e7. I'm gonna take first, because if king h6, then I go h4, and then this is as easy as it gets. I just have to be careful with not stalemating my opponent, because g5, f5 is stalemate. Let's take here. Bishop g8, now the threat is f5 and rook takes e7 mate. So my opponent takes. My threat now is king f5. They stop it again. The only way oh my goodness, they're stopping all of my threats. Okay, let's come here. Check. Mate. There we go. Thank you for the game. Are we in the first page? Yes. We're catching up with the people. Candy the Master against Candy the Master. Although technically I'm a FIDE Master, but okay. Of course, I grabbed that opportunity to show off as the arrogant chess player I am. It's still pretty amazing how this gentleman or gentlewoman is in number 1. And we continue to have 1700. Interesting. We're going to continue berserking. Just to continue getting these games on and trying to get at the very top. We're going to play the Sicilian Defense. Okay, we started very well. This is known as the Wing Gambit. I'm just going to take it. I used to play this with white. And after realizing that it was pretty bad, I stopped. Makes sense now. There are several ways black can play here. Yeah, the Wing Gambit is very bad. I don't recommend. Unless you're like, you found something and you have a very specific line that you can play. I'm bail out too. But I don't think there's such a thing. Let's play bishop d7. Let's not blunder d5. Go a6 actually. Actually, I have to be careful here. I'm allowing some e5s that I should have. Now I get b5 on b4. Yeah, now I'm back to winning comfortably. I was never winning comfortably until this point, I would say, actually. Bishop b3, I get b4, takes. So my opponent has to sacrifice some material. Unfortunately, it's not. Well, it shouldn't be enough. We will see if it's enough. e5, knight d5, c4, I have knight c3, pinning, sorry, not pinning, forking the queen and the bishop. I get to exchange pieces when you're winning material. Exchanging pieces is very helpful. So c3 is played. I can still take on e4, but I'm going to prioritize finishing development. e5 once again runs into knight d5. I mean, it's not like it runs into it and it wins for black right away, but e5. And normally whenever a side, either white or black, attacks a knight in the center with a move like e4, e5, you want to move the knight to a central square. I'm lagging. That's not good news. Stream health. Stream is healthy. Okay. Yeah, I've been checking this because I'm struggling. What was I saying? e5 is blundering this. What was I saying? I was saying that. Oh yeah, whenever your opponent can play e5, as long as you can move the knight to the center, it's usually fine. Usually. Okay, let's go rook b8, attack the bishop. Okay. So we're up a piece. How do we convert this game? Let's see, knight a5 is a candidate move, but that doesn't really threaten anything. And it gets in the way of bishop takes d. I know it doesn't. Bishop takes d6. There's this rook takes a5, queen takes a5. It doesn't really do that, but I can play queen c7 then. Because knight a5 wasn't threatening anything. And on the other hand, queen c7 is getting ready to support. Sorry, to not support, attack c3. Okay, f4, e5 makes sense. Make things crazy when you're losing. That's the general advice. I'm gonna exchange pieces. Only now I realize, though, that after f takes e5, I'm losing the exchange here, but it's fine. We can argue this is just a way of simplifying the position. I mean, I should have calculated that. Either way, my opponent doesn't see it, or maybe my opponent finds a superior way of getting into that with d5, because I either way have to move the knight, and then I will lose that exchange. So yeah, that was very poor. Once again, failing to convert positions. Let's go knight a5. We don't have much choice. Takes. I was thinking of going knight g4, and after he takes bishop takes d6, going queen b6, which seems to be fine actually. But I don't know. It seems very suspicious. King h1, knight f2 takes, rook takes a5 is always in the air. So knight g4, bishop takes d6. I could go queen takes e3 as well, but okay, all of those moves are out of the question. It's fine. Let's just give up the exchange. I could take on c3, which maybe makes a difference, but okay. It's hard to believe. Gonna rook takes f8. c4 I'm expecting, yes. Now I'm gonna play knight g4. Threatening queen c5, queen b6. Knight e3. Queen e2 I'm expecting now. Keep things under control in that sense. And now things are interesting. Not that I wanted them to be interesting, but they turned out to be. Okay, so I can go knight b7, knight c5. I could go rook b8. I could go h5. Why h5 to go knight h6 and having that pawn there is a little bit better, but okay, that's quite weird. So let's go rook b8. But this is probably equal now, which is not good news. Wait a second, queen c5 was winning material. Oh my goodness. I'm not calculating properly. Queen c5, king h1, there's knight f2, takes. And if this, knight takes h2. Or knight e3. Oh, my opponent blunders it again. Very poor. I'm getting tired. That's my excuse. That was very bad. Knight f2. Oh my goodness, no. I'm losing on a5. I continue to... Well, okay, I have bishop h6. What is happening? Goodness gracious. I blundered that completely. Thought I was just winning. Okay, let's go bishop h6. Force knight f3. And then, I don't know. Okay, that one seems... a little bit scary. Let's go bishop f4. They can't move this knight because this is pinned. Wow. Rook c2, bishop takes h3, g takes h3, queen h2 mate. So bishop takes h3 is a threat. So queen f3 or queen e2, yeah. Queen g3, knight f1. So let's go queen d4. Knight f3, queen c3. The chess quality is on the floor, unfortunately, guys. I apologize. I'm a little bit tired. Now I'm threatening rook b3. If rook c2, I have rook b1. And that looks good. So I'm expecting Not sure what I'm expecting, actually. This seems a little bit annoying. What is my threat? Rook b3. And then a bishop c2. Rook b2. Rook b4. Okay. Reasonable. Queen c1. Maybe a threat. No, but this is check. This can't be right. Queen e1. Queen d4. I think queen d4 is game over now. Queen f2, bishop e3. Or queen takes d3. We have 40 seconds against 4.5. Can we take this point home? Oh, there's a beautiful line. Oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Well, maybe it does. Wow. Oh, it works. So it's like I actually forgot what it was. It was something like queen f2, bishop e3, like let's say queen f6. I mean, there are 1,000 ways of winning there. But rook takes, rook h1 takes, queen a1. It doesn't even work. What am I saying? Rook f1. My idea was king h2, queen g1, king g3, bishop f4, king f3, queen e3 mate, and if king h4, queen e1. That's never gonna happen because it doesn't work. With that, all your opponent has to do is trade all big pieces and flag you. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think that's that should be my opponent's strategy. I think unfortunately for my opponent, they will run out of, you know, king safety before they can flag me. I think 40 seconds is too much. If I had 10 seconds, 5 seconds, yeah. But you're absolutely right. That should be the strategy of my opponent. But welcome to the channel. Welcome to the live stream and the channel as a whole. Okay. Queen takes g1 is mate, so king h2 is the only way. Prolong that mate, but okay. It's pretty sad. Takes. I can come back and take this, or takes, and I can play rook b3. Thank you for the game, Karkunda. And I think we are closing in. And none of this pausing, reconnecting. That was scary. Whoa, I'm lagging. Super lagging. think I'm lagging. Yeah, I think I'm lagging. It always happens. Should have traded the queen for the rook, yeah. Oh, so you can still hear me. That's super weird. Is it leeches then? No, this works. Super weird. Wow. I have no idea what's going on. It says reconnecting, look. Ah, you guys can't see. It's over here. Just over here. Just reconnecting. Oh, there we go. We're back. No, we're not back. We're still lagging. What's going on? Some people are really having a fight over here. What is going on? How you're not lagging, thank you. But according to leeches, I am. According to leeches, I am. Look, we're connecting. I can't. I'm not finding a game. What is going on? Ah, I've been experiencing lag issues. It's insane. Let me change. Refresh. I can do everything. I can solve puzzles, I think. Yeah. Can enter studies and things like that. For some reason I can't play the arena tournament. That's super weird. Look, reconnecting. I guess we were stopped by the authorities before we could get any higher. Maybe we're not allowed to play in the daily rapid arena. Super weird. That's super weird. Okay, it's fine. I can try this. That's very interesting. I've never experienced anything like this. Well, we were stopped by the authorities, I guess. Can't win the daily rapid arena anymore. That's a shame. Super weird. Okay, well, I guess we'll pause it. And yeah. Like the pause doesn't work either. I'm gonna come here. And I can play normal games, no? Yeah, I can. That's insane. Okay, well. Let's just finish off with a couple of games here. Knight bd7. With the idea of playing knight f6 and retaking with the knight. Yeah, that's a shame. What can I say? I think g6 is an idea. e5 is an idea. I'm gonna go e5. Very often bishop e7 and 94s. The way to get into Dutch positions. The Dutch, for those of you who don't know, is moving the f-pawn. And some lines of d4, f5 openings. Dubious, it's not very sound defense. But it's very interesting. Okay, queen c2. So now could go c5. Kind of to force a question. Force the question. Force an answer. Yeah. Now we're getting this Maroczy bind looking pawns on c5 and e5, but I don't think this is the main way of playing these positions, by the way. To be honest, I think my pawn on c5 is a little bit of a too aggressive approach. It's too aggressive. Let's go b5. Bishop takes b5. We already said A, we have to say B. So we already accepted we're gonna play this aggressively. Maybe that was too aggressive. Okay, let's go h6, bishop h4. I'm expecting if bishop takes, knight takes, at least I get some pieces out. But this b5 move was just insane by me. Insane. How on earth did I play that? Okay, let's go knight b6. No, that doesn't look right. Yeah, let's go bishop b7. Let's just continue sacrificing. Unfortunately, this game is already worse. We have to make things unclear. Bishop takes d7, queen takes d7. Okay, my opponent doesn't go for this. Can we go for e4? Doesn't look. Go knight b6. Bishop g3. c4. That doesn't work. Okay. That gives me hope. Because of c4. Although there's also e4. Takes. There's also rook d8. Threatening takes and e4. And if 94 takes. Or 94 c4. Takes. This keeps things a little complicated. Whoa, there's a disgusting spider. That's insane. Give me a second. Sorry guys, I think I have to finish the stream here because of some insect situation here. Very scary stuff. But thank you everyone for joining. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do here. Probably take and go e4 and pray. But yeah, thank you everyone. Have a good day.